Hello, everyone. I'm joined today by a former retreat participant and a recent graduate from our 10-week Remember That Masks online program, hence the sweatshirt. So yeah, I'm grateful to have Ed. And what I want to do in this short interview is I want to get straight to the point and ask Ed some personal questions about his experience, so that you have a chance to listen and make up your own mind whether this is for you or someone else in your life that would benefit from going to this program. So Ed, it's great to see you, mate. And the first question I've got for you is, you've done our retreat, and I know from talking to you that you had a sense of trust in the work that we do. You love the retreat experience, and you decided to jump into the 10-week program to maintain some momentum, but it's different. It's on Zoom. It's not in person. Like, what did you expect before you kind of started the program?
Yeah, so I expected growth. I didn't know in what direction that would be. I expected greater understanding of myself. Again, I had no idea in what area. I knew some of that would be uncomfortable, and I knew some of that would feel really good. And I was kind of excited. I was excited and nervous about all of that. I think when it comes to the dynamics of the program, I was probably a bit unsure about some of the things you mentioned about, Zoom. Can you create a connection like that when it's less intensive? But no, more than did that. I think one of the things you had mentioned there was around, the group connection in between sessions and stuff like that, in between Zooms, WhatsApp and stuff like that. So, I mean, it probably took me a couple of weeks to fully get into it. It's a new group. Although you can trust these people, like there's still part of you pulling back a little bit, I think, or at least there was for me, right? But then quite quickly after probably 2 or 3 weeks, you realise, wow, yeah, I'm in the company of some pretty cool, pretty special guys, and I'm really excited about this journey. But my expectation was just, I knew I was going to understand more about myself. I knew it would be uncomfortable, but I knew I'd feel like a lot better coming off the back of it, which it was more than met, by the way. So
okay. So I came in with an open mind, but a bit unsure about how we could grow safety and connection on Zoom.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. And again, just for the viewers, the basic premise of the program that we run, it's a 10-week program. It's kind of broken down into 2-week blocks. There's a theme in each block. And we meet on a Monday and a Friday in the morning at 6:30 for an hour. Every 2-week block. On the 4th session, it's about 90 minutes, and it's more of a sharing. And in the previous 3 sessions of each block, we really get out of our heads, we really get into our body, and we explore different types of breath work, meditation, embodied practices, different types of movement, different types of postural awareness, different types of body language, etc., in an attempt to really feel into the themes that we move through. And generally, the themes of the program, in the beginning, we focus on just the basics of what we call embodiment, the basics of getting out of our head and into our bodies. And then we move on to, commitment and courage and discipline, which is more around the kind of warrior within us. And then we shift onto love and connection through feelings, which is more about this kind of the loving part of us. And then we move on to talk about transformation and curiosity and magic, and that more, if you like, deep curious seeking part of us. And then the last theme is around leadership and mission and purpose, and what we call the king archetype, and feeling into that leader within us and holding each other accountable and supporting each other, and really blessing each other with what we see in each other. And outside of that, we have a tight WhatsApp support group, and also we have a buddy up system where every 2 weeks men have to make an effort to connect with other men outside of the group. Go ahead.
Yeah.
you came in with an open mind. You was a very flow of the experience for you. How was it for you?
It's quite hard to put into words, if I'm honest. The experience was unbelievable. Is probably the best way that I can think of to describe it. It's I couldn't have believed or couldn't have expected that over the course of 10 weeks I would have uncovered, learned so much about myself, and that I wouldn't have believed that by the end of the 10 weeks I could feel like such a simpler person, or so much more of an uncomplicated person is probably a better way of describing it. I knew there would be progression over the 10 weeks. I was kind of blown away by like the amount of personal progression, and I suppose the other thing is just around connection. To be honest, I never would have thought it'd be possible to feel the level of connection that I did with the guys in that group. I'm someone that enjoys being around people. I get energy from being around people. I get energy from receiving love. I get energy from giving love. And the level of that when we had that last sort of checkout on the last day was, it's just like really, really special. To be honest, really, really special.
Yeah. What were the highlights for you? Be specific, and what were the main highlights that I guess enriched your life?
The two highlights. One was a very honest and vulnerable share from one of the guys in the group that has really inspired a difference in me, about being really truthfully, brutally honest with myself, that has then had a massive ripple effect and created a step change in other things that I do and other ways that I am. The other highlight, to be honest, is just there's been a couple of instances. I've an experience to do with my dad. He had dementia when I was younger, died when I was quite young, and it's always been something I've found quite difficult to deal with. And I've had some really lovely moments. So like during the course of the program, I went to the old seaside town where we had loads of family holidays, and rather than it being oh shit, like I don't know whether I can cope with this or not, I loved it, and I was sharing really beautiful memories with my 7-year-old. And just last Sunday on Father's Day, actually, I went to the town where I grew up and took my son on a tour of all the places that meant a lot to me. And if I could give one sort of testimonial, it would be this. So my best friend that I grew up with called me on Sunday night. I'd sent him loads of photos. And he said, getting quite emotional now, he said, "Ed, I never thought I would ever hear you talking about where we grew up in the way that you have today. It feels like you've had 25 years of really struggling." And he said, "It's just amazing to see you be this way about where you grew up." So yeah, I mean, that when I received that call on Sunday, he's not a normal person to call up too much, to be honest. So for him to sort of pick up the phone and feel that he needed to say that really, really says a lot, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, mate. Thanks for sharing that. I remember the first highlight you spoke about. I remember one of the men sharing that maybe it was week 6 or week 7, and it just opened everybody up, and it gave permission to everybody else to share deeply. And if you noticed, from then there was a lot of deep sharings after that. So yeah, that was beautiful. And thanks for sharing the second highlight, which is amazing. Sounds like you got some clarity of understanding around your life, with your father when you were younger, and obviously that's transferred into your relationship with your son, which I know now from hearing you speak, it has become quite strong and more loving and deeper. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah. So how has the 10-week experience helped you now as you move forward, apart from what you just shared about your relationship with your son? How else has it served you in life?
Yeah, I think it's just great. It creates knowledge and habits, I think, is probably the two things I would say. So when I first started doing this type of work, you're like, okay, I'm open to it, but I've got no idea what I'm doing. So if you talk about like breathwork techniques, for example, didn't have a Scooby, right? Whereas now I do. Like, I mean, there's a lot that I could learn, but so it gives you education and knowledge. So I can now go out on my own and now do have a regular morning practice, for example, that I can use the things that I have learned. And some of them, like, you use more than others. Some seem to work for you more than others. But I think it's the things that I've really taken forward. I mentioned about honesty, so that's definitely one. I'm a much more honest person with myself and other people. I'm just much more comfortable in my own skin. I get less. The sort of person I am, I always used to be quite emotional, so I'd sort of bundle into day after day, and I kind of hoped by the end of the day that I'd had a good day, but there was no real plan about it. Whereas now I have a regular morning practice. If I know I'm feeling sluggish, then I might engage a bit more with that sort of warrior spirit, and know that I need to sort of psych myself up for the day. Or if I'm feeling stressed or anxious, then I have a bit more of a sort of intent around lover or maybe magician or whatever else it might be. So it's just this sort of range. I just feel like probably the best way to describe it is I feel like I go into the world and I've got this armory of tools under my belt that I didn't have before, that just enable me to cope much better with good days and bad days. So that's probably the best way I can think to describe.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that clarity there, mate. And finally, what would you say to any man that's thinking about joining us on our next 10-week program that starts in soon on August the 1st?
Honestly, just do it. Like, honestly, like, do it. I've learned to I've just do it. It's like, I really can't say anything better than that. Just trust in it, do it, and like, you'll have an unbelievable experience.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. So I appreciate your time, Ed. It's great to see you again. And for any man out there that's considering joining us on this 10-week program, whether you've done a retreat with us before or whether you want to use this as a stepping stone into an understanding of the work that we do, feel free to get in touch with us. And we start our next 10-week journey on the 1st of August. Have an amazing day. Thanks, Ed.
Have a great, no problem. Cheers, Craig.